different people here, but maybe not everybody. So I guess you want to.
Yeah. I'm introducing Benz. She's the oldest of all of us sisters. She's 27. And she's a teacher at St. Thomas. She's definitely one of the wisest. And we love her for making sourdough bread for all of us.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. So I'm going to be introducing Mary. So Mary's the second of the girls. We do have an older brother, and we have a brother in between Grace and Beth, but tonight we're just focusing on the same one. Sorry, James and John. Mary is, she is incredible. She's the only one of the six of us who's married. She obviously has her lovely son here, John Patrick, who's absolutely precious. She just graduated from med school, so yeah. Everything she does turns to gold. She just can make everything just so lovely. She's always had that gift.
So I'm introducing Anna Benz, who is the queen. We actually share a birthday, so we're exactly 2 years apart. So we had joint birthday parties our entire life, which was annoying when I was little, but it became the best thing ever. She just finished her master's in counseling, so if you need really great. And she has a beautiful voice. She sang at my wedding, and it was one of the highlights of my entire wedding day. And I love Hannah to death, so she holds us together.
I'm Anna, and I'll be introducing Grace. Grace is one under me. We shared a room all growing up. She's getting her master's in political philosophy at Boston College right now, so she lives in Boston.
Grace for president.
Yes, the future president. So next ballot, just put Grace Benz. And Grace is just a very gentle, kind, receptive soul. So you should talk to Grace.
I'm introducing Beth, and Beth is going to be a sophomore at Notre Dame. She's also very brilliant. She works very hard. Beth excels at many different things. She's very athletic, and I've always kind of thought Beth was super cool. But Beth is also, it's kind of cool because at these random moments you get these bursts of philosophical, pensive thoughts that come from her. And they're very, just
Usually at 11 p.m. in your bedroom.
and then brushing your teeth, and Beth is just what about this? And it's just really great. It's really awesome. So, you're thanks.
I'm going to introduce Sarah, former bunny. You probably all know her the most, I'm guessing. Sarah is the spunky one. But Sarah she's probably the most organized of us all, which is very inspiring to me. Just with everything that she does, she's very determined. She's very orderly with it, and I think that just shows a certain level of dedication. She's great. I think also her ability to interact with others shows her her heart for others and her way to the way that she loves, just everyone can receive her because she gives so well. So I love this. Okay, do we have the slides, or is that not happening?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. I think we just have a 2-second video. That's ridiculous. That's really just fun. But if we need to wait, that's okay too.
So we're going to be
Catherine.
We're going to be talking about sisterhood. So we have, 3 different sections. Ann and I are going to start talking about how we understand sisterhood, not just biological sisterhood, but sisterhood in Christ and sisterhood as friends. And then we'll talk about some struggles in sisterhood, and then sisterhood that is fulfilled and rooted in Christ.
Yeah. So just to kind of kick us off, when we were praying and discussing what we want to talk about with sisterhood, really what was sticking out to us all was the visitation. And just like Mary going in haste to meet Elizabeth. And Mary will say a little bit more about that too, but something that stuck out to me in particular when I was praying and reading it was when it says that Mary remained with Elizabeth 3 months and then returned to her home. And I think that something that we want to emphasize with sisterhood is like, sisterhood really is like a remaining with others and sitting with others in the process. I think that everyone probably has heard the phrase like, our God is a God of the process. And what more do we need than other people to also be with us in our process? And so that was definitely like a focus. And I think that like for me personally, and I'm sure that some of you maybe have experienced some like wounds in sisterhood as well. And something for me in particular was a wound because friends weren't able to remain with me in my process, even in the lows of my process. But I'm so thankful that these sisters here were. These have been like my constant ones. So yeah, that definitely stuck out to me, and I would say that that's definitely a focus of sisterhood, a defining point of sisterhood. It's like we are with each other in the highs and the lows. So that's something that definitely came up for me.
Yeah, and just to build off of that, something else that we see in the visitation is that Mary, right after she finds out this earth-shattering news that she's going to carry the Messiah, she probably still really doesn't fully understand what that means. She goes in haste to see Elizabeth, and I see sisterhood. Not just for me, it's these sisters and also my closest friends, but for all of us, it can be either your biological sisters or your close friends, other women in your life. It's meant to be a place of refuge. And I really see that, Mary went to Elizabeth to not only rejoice with Elizabeth, but to probably also freak out a little bit at what God was doing and to kind of discern and just contemplate the mystery of what God was doing in her life. And she needed somewhere that was safe to do that. And I think that that's what sisters are meant to be for each other. These are the people. The story I was going to share was when I delivered this little one. And it was 5 in the morning. I had just delivered him, and it was a couple hours later. And Therese came in, and she was the first sister to come and visit me. And throughout the day, it was each of my sisters. And it was kind of like the highest high, but also like I was freaking out. I had no idea what I was doing. I was really overwhelmed. And literally Becky crawled into my hospital bed with me and sat with me and held baby Johnny. And I knew that I needed my safe place with my sisters to kind of rejoice with them at what God was doing, but to also be okay to be vulnerable and to need their help. And I really think that that is what sisterhood is meant to be, and that's what we're meant to be for each other.
Yeah, it was actually the best day of my life. The day that you guys were walking into that hospital room and seeing Mary. It was just, yeah.
So the next, we're going to talk, me and Beth are going to talk about some struggles of sisterhood. As we all know, living in relationship with anyone.
This is the video.
Yeah.
Just a brief interlude.
Struggles.
This is the struggles of sisterhood.
Is this a video?
Yeah, it's good video.
It was a video. Maybe it
I
is
think
no longer.
when it downloaded the presentation, it just downloaded it as a photo.
Oh, well, that's so good.
There you go.
It's Thanksgiving morning. We had to be in the car for Mass in 5 minutes.
So my dad was a little worried.
I love it.
Do we want to go to the next slide? Shout out to James. Just same girls his whole life.
You can keep going.
Yeah, if you want to go. Yeah, just more random. Okay, so that was Mary and Anna's section with what is sisterhood. And then if you want to go to the next slide.
This is Mary and Martha, by the way.
So obviously in a relationship with anyone, no matter how close, it can be your best friend, a sister, biological sister, your mom, anyone, there's going to be struggles. And I think it's kind of recognizing that it's okay to struggle with someone, that it's not going to last forever, that God actually can give you grace to move past So Beth and I are just going to share some struggles we've had in Sisterhood.
I was just talking about comparison, especially being like the younger end of my sisters, and I'm like, this is applicable to any situation, but just like, this is like a fitting image. It's like, it's like I have 4 people, and Sarah as well, but she's younger, but, where it's like literally for my whole life, it's like, this is what you do, and it's like, especially going to college, it was like, I do the things that they did, and I want to do the things that they did, but like, why isn't it as easy for me to want to do those things, or like, where's this struggle coming from? It's like, I'm not the same as Trez, and she was my teacher, which is great, but that was actually phenomenal. If your sister can be your teacher, I'd recommend. But it's like, why does Mary like seem to do these things so easily, and she's so good in this way, but like I'm not, and like, just like all these different like things, especially like going and making decisions on your own, like in college. This year that was like a really big theme. And I was talking to this priest friend of mine who, Father Pete, who Trez and Mary also know. And he was talking about how it's like, I'm sure your sisters are great. And he even knows 2 of them. And he's like, I'm sure they're awesome and like they're phenomenal, but like you're not your sisters. And it's like sometimes for holiness, it's a lot easier to start to like try to copy and mimic other people and be like, they're doing this and this is good for them, so I have to do that, and why is it not easy for me to do that? And it's like, no, there's a certain level where it's like, no, ask the Lord like where you are and where he's leading you. And it's like where your sisters can help you in that and where you can help your sisters, but it always comes back to it's like you and the Lord and like what he's leading you into. And like not allowing the devil to say like to create this lie into you. It's like, oh, you're not as good because it's not as easy for you to do the holy hour as it is for your older sister, or like you don't want to go to mass as much as they do, like you're not as good. It's like, no, there's this lie, and it's like just continue going back to the Lord and like him showing you like who you are and like being yourself, and like your sisters will help you with those graces, and like you'll be with that in that journey along with one another. But also like there will be points where things are harder for them than they are for me, and things are easier for them and easier for me, and it's like it's all good, and it's like always going back to the Lord and like what he wants you to do, not like what they're doing.
Retweet everything Beth said. But also, one thing that I was thinking about was that there's also often a tendency to feel like you're kind of stuck in a rut or like defined by labels of what a relationship, what a certain relationship with a certain sister looks like. Like in friendship, I'm sure there's different labels you have in school or something like that. Like, oh, that's like the cool group, or that's like the athletic group, or this person's intimidating and I couldn't be friends with them. And even like among my own sisters, I've felt that way where it's like, oh, Beth is like, too cool, or like we have different hobbies, like Beth is super good at sports, I'm not as athletically inclined, or something like that. But like, it's just been really beautiful to see that we don't have to stay there, that God actually, maybe there's someone that you really like and you like kind of want to become closer with them, like become like a sister in Christ with, and like you can like pray for that person, also ask God for moments where you can like get to know that person. So like I feel like me and Beth's relationship, initially I might like, me and Anna have always shared a room, we've gone to Avi together for undergrad for 3 years, and I feel like I hadn't gotten to know Beth on like a friendship level, because you can also be friends with your sisters. And Beth is someone who I feel like I've become a lot closer with and better friends with these past few years, even though initially I might have thought, oh, me and Beth, we might just be like, not that we didn't get along or something like that.
Like
just
Anna was your person.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Anna's my buddy. But actually I'm finding this summer, especially, like even this past month, where I like have asked Beth for advice in like a hard situation, and or like I just love to goof around with Beth a lot and just like always pick on Beth. Where I'm like, even for this talk, I'm like, Beth, I'm gonna talk about you. Like I just love Beth so much. I love all of them. But it's cool to see that God can like do something new amongst biological sisters, among friends, among groups. So just never narrow your vision. Like look beyond what you're comfortable with and ask God for grace to give you those gifts.
So to kind of like bank on like all of this, like we've all talked about like different like
comparisons and like struggles and everything. And like the key part of that is just like the Lord at like the center of every sisterhood, whether this be like with your siblings, with your friends, or like anyone. Like there are so many like differences in everyone, and it's like the Lord is actually what like brings you together. So like for me, like we're all on like very different paths in life. I'm a lot like younger than like Trez and Mary. Like as a teacher, Mary's a doctor, and as a therapist. In school. But what like I think brings us most together is just like our goal, which is like heaven and like Christ. Because it's like I just like see my sisters and it's like they're on such different paths, and with like friendships, everything, it's like they're doing something like so different than me. And that like kind of goes into like comparison and everything. But it's like when you just have that goal, which is like Christ, it can like bring your sister like so much closer. Like I see all my sisters like going to mass daily, going to adoration, and it just like it leads me closer to them, even though we're on different paths, because it's like we all want to get to heaven, and we all like want to be together in salvation with one another. So that's why like in your sisterhood, like Jesus should be your main goal, and especially if you're like drifting like away from that, it's like good to call each other on into that like sisterhood where Jesus is the center. Because you like that's the main goal. You all want to be like in heaven together.
I guess just to wrap things up and just to affirm everything that Sarah just said. I think that there's this like what the Lord can do in a relationship with a sister is totally unbelievable. Like it is crazy. Like whatever your highest expectations are for how good your relationship with another woman that you are in it with are, like raise those, and He will meet them and like explode them again and again and again. I mean, like look at these 5 people. Like they are this embodied sign to me of His goodness and His love. Like how did this? It's like how did this happen? But okay. But there's also like there's like how did I get this? Like how did I get this? Like yeah, Lisa Benz in the back. I think there was this moment I had that I talked about a lot in my life because it meant a lot to me. It was like junior year of high school. I realized that I maybe had 18 more months living at home for the rest of my life, and I suddenly realized that I maybe just had 18 months. Like love these people as much as I could. And I know that, I don't know if anyone else noticed, but I really noticed this change in myself of like to not take this for granted. And that that Jesus will enter into you and show you like Mary Hale reflects like something about the face of God that nobody else like can like bear into the world. Anna Benz does that exact same thing. Grace Benz does that same thing. And so there was this place of like being with Jesus and looking at these people in a way I never had before, of like really getting to see them, to be in His heart, and to suddenly realize how He loves. And to get to share in that in this like very natural way. Like they're so easy to love. I think, but then there's also kind of like the beautiful flip side of that, where like I'm with Jesus, loving these 5 people that He's given me to love, where He's like, I've entrusted them to you, like I want them to be loved by you, like I want to love them through you in a particular way. But then there's also like them teaching me how to love Him. That I feel as if in my life, like one by one, as they sort of like hit the age, like really in like middle school, high school, where they like take the faith as their own, that they almost like came up along me like side by side, one at a time, and that we've like gone into these very deep places, like into like the process, like into these like messy, tangled places, but like together and with Him. And I have this image of like I went to adoration like sometimes in high school and undergrad, but like not that much. And it was like really my sisters who taught me like how to like just like regularly go all the time and to like not get tired of it. I have this image of Anna being home from a break, I think in undergrad one time, and like I can see it in my head. I'm like sitting on like the couch in my parents' family room, and Anna's walking towards the door to the garage, and she's just picking up her bag with her adoration books and just like putting it over her shoulder. And someone's like, Anna, where are you going? And Anna's just like, to adoration. And like there's something about that image of like Anna just taking this bag with like the Bible in it and her journal, just like putting it on her shoulder, just like telling us where she's going. It's like, oh, like I want to go with her. And so there's like I'm with him, loving them, but I'm also with them, loving him. And like no one's more lovable than him. And like if I flag for an instant in remembering that about him, it's like these 5 women are there, like with me, to like show me again and again and again like his beauty when it's difficult, to see it. It's like and that is the most like, enormous, unbelievable gift to be with him in it. So I think maybe that's what we'll close.
Just this one moment, like I think it was actually just like over Easter break where I was kind of like getting like caught up in my head, and I was like talking to Anna and Tress, and like, what am I doing with my life? Like there's all these decisions, and like I wanted to like live this adventure, and then Tress was just like, Grace, but like don't forget like the point of like is to like love the Lord and go like where He wants you to go, or something like along those lines. And like it's been like 6 weeks since that encounter, that like conversation with Tress and Anna, and I like still remember that, and like remember like I was kind of getting distracted, like to your point, like what are my ambitions or something like that. And those are all good things we can dream, but also it's like I needed a sister to like be like, Grace, what's the real vision of your life? And that's it at Jay. But yeah, that's just a point I wanted to add about Tress.
Maybe a few minutes. If anyone has any questions. If you have questions about being like youngest, middle, oldest, like I don't know.
Anything. Curious question, literally anything. Yeah.
It's so weird seeing you guys all live together when you're younger.
Oh, wow.
Speak about dark places.
Seriously, the process. Yeah.
I
don't know.
reenacting Snow White like 1 million times.
But married together like the prince.
Actually, maybe they don't.
I was always the prince.
And I was always the dead princess.
That is so weird.
Mom.
Weird thing.
Well, we would consistently put underwear on our heads. Oh, we actually, there was one time. I don't know if I should share this.
I know, I feel like
But
questionable.
at least Therese and I with my older brother John, I can't remember if anything was with us. We did like go to the bathroom behind a bush. I thought it was good.
And there's a dog ate it.
Okay. We did get in trouble, but in hindsight, it was actually impressive that we could coordinate that. But yeah.
Okay, so I would imagine that at different points in your journeys of sisterhood between the 6 of you, there have been times where you're like, I'm in a rough place with this sister. Like, it's not working right now. We're not getting along. Everything she's doing is bothering me. So like, what advice would you give to somebody who this is not at like, I love my sister Alex. So it's not like,
You should take this to Ellery
hypothetically, if somebody but even if you the most amazing person, what advice or what has helped you guys when you're in those difficult seasons with a sister move past it or access, be open to receiving the grace of the Lord to move through that, like Grace was talking about?
I guess I can maybe speak to this as an old, like on the older end of things, where I think there is this trope of like little sisters being incredibly annoying and like imitating you and that being frustrating, not frustrating or something. I don't think that was like an exceptionally massive thing in my life, but there's this like G.K. Chesterton says this very lovely thing about the story of Beauty and the Beast, which is like the lesson of Beauty and the Beast is that a thing has to be loved before it's lovable. And that I think we actually all experience that with the Lord. It's not that we're lovable and so then he loves us. It's that he loves us and it's the experience of being loved by him that makes us lovable. And I think there's actually a way in which, I think especially to anyone who's an older sister out there, there's like a real way in which you're like meant to enter into that like with him, where it's like, if you love your sister, like, she will be more peaceful and she will be more joyful. You will be more together. And that there's this like loving first. It's like John of the Cross says the same thing of like, where you don't find love, put love, and then there you will find love. Where it's crazy what happens to people when you really love them, when you like drop your games and drop when you need to get something from them, and you're just like there with them, and you just see them. I think that's maybe one. I don't know if anyone else has another thing they'd say about struggles.
I think like vulnerability always breaks down like any tension or frustration, because like when you actually like take the time to really encounter your sister, you kind of like remember how much you love them, and you also like remember like, or like you start to understand maybe why they're doing what they're doing or struggling with what they're struggling with, and so it just like it humbles you to just like be vulnerable and to like actually take the time to like break down any barriers by like talking or just spending time together and not like letting distance kind of like foster that division between you.
I definitely say kind of going up and down. I love the concept of holy curiosity, understanding why you might be reacting in the way that you are, and kind of understanding that about yourself, and then maybe going to that person and communicating that, and even maybe communicating instead of being accusatory, but like communicating like, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I'm feeling, maybe this is what I'm being triggered by, with what you're doing because of an insecurity of my own, and communicate that. It's like that's very vulnerable, and that's going to break down those barriers. So it's also practical.
Okay, so like with a big age gap in siblings, how do you, like, what's your advice for staying close? Because like, Sarah, if you're gonna call one of your older siblings, like, they've got their big job now, like their life, like husband and a kid, like, what are you gonna try to talk to them about? Because they're like such a different stage of life than you, and how do you, like, what's the advice for staying close still? Like, you can't really randomly call because they're working or something. So what do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think like this is kind of like simple, but like humor, having like shared like joyful moments, and also just like sending each other like silly videos, like stuff like that. Like that's very like, it sounds superficial, but I think it kind of paves the way for like I think there's a communication where it's like we have a sisters group chat and we'll send like silly things, but then we also can say like, oh, pray for this, and it kind of keeps you like, so that's just maybe one avenue where you could like, oh, I thought you'd like this like weird emoji, like you're like, I have like sending emojis is fine or something like that, or like stupid videos, like anyways. That's super Also like a deeper like just, I think this is with friends. I know this is like Ellie Lennon. I experienced this, who we were considered like the Lennons, our sisters, honestly. But just like back to the Christ-centered thing, like if that's the thing you hold most in common, like you will always have something in common. Like you always have a best friend in common. And it's like that really becomes apparent when you go to college. No, it's like, and it's true. Like when you go to college, it's no longer like you're playing sports with your best friends every day, and you hold like the teachers in common, everything. It's like, what do you hold in common? It's like you hold Christ in common, or like you don't really have much in common, and you don't really have anything to talk about anymore. It's like we hold Christ in common, and yeah, we have a lot to talk about because like we're family, but like with friends even. It's like when Ellie and I see each other after like 9 months, it's like there's not a moment of like awkwardness. It's like we hold like our like the most important things to us in common, and so it's like we also can like there's just a lot more to talk about, and there's a lot to share, and like that's the only thing that will like last a friendship over like a long period of time, because like sports teams fade and like I don't know, yeah, or something like that.
I think love languages too. Like Sarah Benz is an amazing gift giver, and so there's something about like knowing that about her, and so that I think to like communicate my love for her. It's like okay, we go like get coffee somewhere, or like I like bring her stuff. Yeah, then here's like something small. That's like I think that can be very helpful, even if you're just doing little things. And I think also having an attitude of being in it for the long haul, like the remaining with that person. Where it's like actually someone might be in a season of life where they're so busy, they're not like reciprocating a lot. Just about like learning and actually even taking that as an opportunity to say I love you and I want to do these small things for you, even if you're not like immediately doing things back. I think that can also, yeah.
I think persistence is
Yeah.
key to that. So just kind of keep trying, even if you feel like you've grown apart or there's just like too many years since you were close. I think it's always worth trying, and like don't give up, because I mean that's with your friends, that's with your sisters in Christ, that's with your biological sisters. Like it's always worth reconciliation or just investing the time in that person, because like that's what the Lord wants for you. He's a God of unity.
Is that?
Oh, sorry. Wait, is there one over there?
No.
Oh, do you want to wrap up?
Go ahead, Rach.
I was just gonna ask if you have any advice for people. Like I know, for a lot of people, the reality is that the hardest place to be vulnerable is actually their family, or is actually those people that are closest. And even if people want that, like I think even if people come from really good families, sometimes it's like, oh, it's so much easier to be like vulnerable with my friend because there's that little bit of distance. And so even like practically, like how do people start? Like if they like leave and they're like, oh, I want to build that relationship with my sister, but like it feels weird riding in the car being like, how's your heart? So like we're came out like how, like you guys are there, so from and have kind of had that naturally, but you still have to choose it and try. And so like what's some advice you would give for anyone here who wants to maybe grow in the depth of relationships, not just with their sisters but with their family, and like how do you start, to begin to build? Yeah,
I also do, I want to like disclaimer, just like a disclaimer. It's like, maybe it like looks more perfect than it is. We didn't want to like live process things, but even in like talking about what we were going to talk about, things started coming up. It was like, oh no, we're I know, it was like we're going to sit in front of a lot of girls and it'd be like live processing drama. So like maybe that would be helpful for everyone. Like this is how you work through issues. Which is a skill you're going to need. Yeah. So okay, I guess we need to say that first. I don't know if anyone had any.
Yeah.
It's easier outside of your family, but harder in.
Quality time, like as much as you can. If you can find the time to just be together, I think like, even if you're like playing pickleball, or if you can like go on a walk or find something that you know that sister loves to do, like the more you have time together, like the more you'll actually see each other, and the more you'll actually start to like care about each other in like a really deep way. I think it has to start with time, and then as much as that can be like built around your faith, like wherever you are at, even if your sister maybe like isn't at the same place in her faith as you are, to like do whatever you can to like slowly move things like, in that direction. But I think just your presence and just being together is like the most important thing to start for sure.
Coming from like a younger sister point of view, if you're an older sister and you have younger sisters, like form a culture where it's like very normal to like say like, oh, like how have you been praying? Like I would, even when I was like 8 or 9, it's like driving in the car, it's like, how's your heart? And I'm like, but it's like even when you're like young and it's like your younger sisters, it's like no, they probably do have something to share. Like and it's like Mary and Trez, and like so like asking that like formed me a culture where I was like, oh, by the time I was 15, it was like, I get in the car and Mary's gonna ask me, how's your heart? And you start to think of it, and it's like it also gives you the courage to like ask your friends. And it's like just if you're older, like form a culture of that. It's like just normal to ask people like intimate questions about prayer. If like, you know, don't like make it taboo. Yeah.
Also affirmation, the power of affirmation. Like it sounds cliche, but like if you have a sister you're not very close with and you start like calling out the good you see in her, I know my sisters calling out the good they see in me has changed me, like quite simply. It's like people calling out the good in you and you calling out the good in others, and that's what Christ does for us, and that's what we're called to do. So as much as you can, pray, God, help me not say the rough thing, help me say the kind thing instead. Like it's just, it sounds simple, but it's just, I think it's very powerful for people to be built up.
I think even if you're like alone with the Lord, like express your gratitude for that person to Him every day. Like even if, yeah, I think that's another simple thing. Like okay, if there's someone you want to be close to, it doesn't seem possible. Even just saying to them every day, like Jesus, I'm so thankful for this person because of. Like that's actually going to expand your heart towards them, like in a way that's going to make you more capable of loving them and being with them. Yeah. So it's another like simple thing that could be very hidden, and just like you alone with the Lord, but that's a great like, starting point for someone you want to be close with.
Even like in that process, like specifically forgiving them, if there is like any sort of wound between you and that person, like actually taking the time in front of the Lord to forgive them